Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. So today we're going to be finishing up the Bespoke pen. So we've been working on this for a couple weeks now. We got the section and the body all completed. It just needs to be polished. So let me give you guys, for anybody that wasn't here, give you a shot. Oh, I can hear myself in the background on my phone. So this is on the mandrel. Hold on real quick. I gotta go turn off the volume on my phone. I was all set and ready to go with the comments on the phone. There I am. Okay. So anyway, so again, if you haven't been following along, so this blank was an idea from Kid Cooper. So we put the colors together and it's looking pretty awesome, I think. And we got everything lined up. This worked out pretty well. There's a couple areas that do line up. I don't know that it would have made a significant difference. This is kind of what I was talking about. I don't know anybody, I'm not sure that anybody would have been like, oh, you didn't even line it up, Like, it could work in many different positions, I think. But we did get some of the colors to kind of, line up a little bit. They do kind of follow through. So anyway, it's looking pretty good. It's a nice size pen. I'm digging the shaping and everything. Got a little bit of a taper on the back end of that. Section feels good. So today what we're going to do is we're going to work on the cap. Let's switch to this view. There it is. It's already on the lathe. So we just need to shape the cap and then we'll polish everything up and we'll be good to go. We'll have this thing finished. Oh. So just for a little quick update on the knee, I'm doing a lot better than a week ago, but it's still kind of, today it's like I'm having these weird shooting pains in my knee, but the mobility has gotten significantly better. I can actually, because I couldn't even bend it, driving was pretty fun. It's really stiff and tight and all that kind of stuff, but things are going well, and I'm going to be getting an MRI next week. I think it is, not this coming week, but the week after, December 5th. So I'm actually looking very much towards seeing what damage has occurred in my knee. I have a feeling that I probably snapped the MCL, and I know that I have meniscus problems. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't require surgery, and hopefully I can actually still make it and not have an entirely ruined snowboarding season. We'll see, but doing pretty good. I'm walking around, and then of course now Gretchen's sick, and I'm probably going to get sick too. So we are just having a lot of fun over here, but I'm pretty excited about this pen. Now, one thing I also wanted to mention is I'm having a huge Black Friday sale. This year, in years past, I've done things like specific days or certain sales and all this stuff, and I was just like, I don't have time for this. So the sales are just going on through Monday, and there's almost everything on the site is on sale. So blanks are 15% off. That's pretty much, yeah, that's across the board, all the blanks. Let's see here. Starlight and Micro Starlight Glitter are 20% off, and the 3D print files, if anybody's getting into that, those are 25% off. The ebook, Beginner's Guide, is 50% off. I always like to do that for Black Friday. That's a fun one. That's like a perfect one, because if you're thinking about getting into resin casting and you're kind of like, I don't know, it's a pretty good time to get that book, and then like by like kind of Christmas, New Year, a lot of people get tools, and they'll get like their casting set up for Christmas maybe. So it works out pretty well timing wise, I think, for that, so that you kind of know what you're doing by the time you get all your supplies and everything, and then next year you're like hitting the ground running. And then I feel like I missed, yeah, there's one other, aluminum honeycomb is also 15% off. So pretty much everything on the site is on sale. The only thing that's not is the color shift powder. That stuff is there's no margin on that. I don't really make money on the color shift stuff. I just buy it in bulk because I want to use that specific one myself. That's kind of how that's how a lot of these things started. It's like I want to use it, but I don't really want to have to pay full price every time, so I'll just buy a lot and then sell extra. So that one's not on sale. But let's see the other thing. What's the other thing? Oh, silicone molds. Again, there's really no margin on those. They're just kind of I make them, if people want them, but I don't really make money. But everything else is on sale, so I make a couple bucks on everything else. So, oh, Kid Cooper's here. Nice. Oh, and Mark's here too. Cool. How's it going? So I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. We had a pretty good one. It was pretty interesting one this year. We got to go up to my sister's house. Unfortunately, couldn't do anything because I was kind of laid up, but we had good food, had a good time. So I hope everybody else did, and I hopefully you guys are all having a pretty good weekend. This is always a good kind of, I don't know, the Thanksgiving weekend is always a good one with family, friends, food, all that kind of good stuff. So hopefully you guys are doing good. CJ, I just did you might want to rewind. I kind of gave a full update on the leg. It's doing okay though. Kind of every day is getting better. So anyway, cool. So let's get this thing going. So we're gonna shape up the. I'm gonna put these guys back on the mandrels because I use them for, and I'll probably buff this. I like Magic Juice a lot. It's just a lot of times I can see a couple little flaws here and there, like little scratches. And so I've been kind of buffing these, but I can kind of show you guys. I also thought everybody knows how to use the Magic Juice. For anybody that's looking into buffing, I can kind of show you how that works. I haven't done it for a while. I don't do it on most things, but and I think the Magic Juice would probably work just fine on this. But like I said, on these pens, I try to get them because they're a little bit. They're just like a step above the custom pens. I take a little bit more pride in these because I've done like every step. So I kind of like going with the buffing setup since I have one. I don't think it's necessary. I'm not, saying that you need to go out and get a buffing system. That's not true. Magic Juice works great. It gets you like 97% there. If you're going for like perfect, I've been doing buffing for so long that I just kind of know what I need to do to get it like perfect, kind of thing. So, and one thing about the buffing, so the way that I do it, I use a triple E wheel. I use like I don't know if they even sell it anymore. It's the 3-wheel system. It was made by Beal. They have, Turner's Warehouse has a new one. So Beal went out of business. So that's fun. But they had a pretty good buffing system. But I'm pretty sure Chad picked up, I think somebody's making a new 3-wheel system. Let's see here. Hold on real quick. They have 2 of them. There's like I don't know, there's a 3-step for $80, and then there's this other one, lathe buffing system for $90. They look very similar. I'm not sure what the difference is. I think this one's very similar. I'm going to give you guys a link real quick. I'm just looking at this, doing some quick research. I think this one's pretty much the same. I don't know. The 2 look pretty similar. They have one, like I said, you might want to talk to Chad a little bit about what the difference is between these 2. I'm just going to give you the more expensive one because I think it's more like the one that I have, which I really like that one. They have it set up with like each wheel. You can't just buy 3 of the same buffing wheels. I mean, you could, I guess, but they work in tandem with the Rouge. So the first step, excuse me, the first wheel is the triple E, which is going to be the coarsest wheel, but it's also the material of the wheel is also coarser, so you get more. It's like I don't know, more abrasion, I guess. Then the second wheel is a finer buff, plus it's also a finer rouge as well. And so what I do is I'm thinking and copying and pasting. Hold on, sorry. Let me just get this link done, then I'll explain what I'm talking about. Too many things going on. Okay, so there's the link on Turner's Warehouse. So I just use I actually only use 2 steps. I use the triple E, and then I use the white diamond. And the thing is, the white diamond really doesn't get it super, like there needs to be another step. But the Carnauba wax, I don't like that one. I don't see any difference whenever I use the wax on it. So I just kind of gave up using that one. I didn't see the point. One thing that you can do is go for like a higher level, like one of the highest levels of magic juice, and just hit it. Like one thing that I was doing for a while is triple E white diamond. So those are buffing rouges. And then I would come back and hit it with number 5 and 6 on magic juice, and it would just be like, you know, like right in your face. Like just the gloss would be awesome. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. Another thing that Turner's Warehouse sells that would be a pretty good final step. There's other buffing wheels too. There's also a blue rouge, which a lot of people use, and that's a little higher than white diamond. Personally, again, I wasn't getting excellent results doing that. I have that set up. I get better results using some sort of like a liquid plastic polish. Can't talk. But Turner's Warehouse has a product called Ring Bling. And again, this is for people that, I'm just throwing out different ideas. Like I said, magic juice works excellent, especially if you're diligent with your sanding. I think that you're going to get even better results with magic juice. They have a product called Ring Bling, which is like a super high, like a polishing compound, kind of like a magic juice, one of those. It's not the same, but that would be a good way to go. So I'm going to give you guys a link to that too if you want to check it out. Chad uses it. He'll do he does Zona papers, I think, and he kind of got this for the rings. He would do Zona all the way up, and then he'd hit it with Ring Bling. So that's kind of how he uses it. But this could work if you were doing buffing like I'm doing, and then give it that kind of final polish. This would be a good way to go. So there we go. Anyway, just wanted to kind of share all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, the fish made for a month of video, I know. Well, you know, it's cool. I could have finished last week, but I knew that if I did, like the cap wouldn't have taken that long last week, and I knew that, but then there's like the buffing and polishing, and it just, my knees started kind of like, I was like, I really think I need to get home and ice this thing. So I was like, whatever. Oh, the blue, yeah. I've tried it, and it just didn't seem like it was doing much. I was like, okay. It didn't do anything bad. It wasn't negative. It didn't seem to do much at all. Actually, one other product that I will mention that I've used in the past on, like spheres and different things like that is, and there are guys and gals, there are 1,000 ways to do this. I want to make sure that everybody understands. There's buffing, there's sanding, there's like the polishing papers, there's, polishes, the liquid polishes. What else is there? Is there anything else? No matter what you do, the game is abrading, higher and higher levels, like finer scratches, in progress. That's all that polishing, sanding, and all that kind of stuff is. So it really doesn't matter what you use, as long as you're doing it where you're going from coarse to fine and you're getting the previous grit scratches out every single time. I mean, that's all it is, really. The thing is, there's all these different ways to do it, and they work slightly differently. Even just between sandpaper types, there's how much grit is on the paper, how hard is the backing of the paper, the particles, how do they break off? I mean, it's a super crazy science on how a lot of these abrasives work, but they all kind of work a little bit differently, and the game is you just need to find one that works for you, which one works the easiest for you. And it may take years. I mean, I flip-flop, back and forth. It's not like I have a specific, this is the way. It's not like the Mandalorian. I kind of flip-flop, and it depends on the situation, how big the thing is. Like, there's a lot of factors. So don't think that you need to go and buy all these different things. Just, work on something for a while and maybe try something out here and there, especially if you can use somebody else's to try to test things out, borrow stuff. But one of them that I've gotten pretty good results with is this Meguiar's, the 205 Ultra Finishing whatever. And I've actually used this with a buffing wheel. That's another way to do these kind of polish things. I bought what's called a string buff, and I know that I could probably talk about this later, but I figured since I started. So string buffs are super soft, and they're just made of lots of strings. It's a little bit different than kind of a normal buffing wheel. And so I would just kind of slather this all over the workpiece, and then, kind of get this a little bit, like, I don't apply it to the buff. I usually kind of apply it to the piece and then let the buff pick it up. And that works really well too. So there's lots of different ways. A lot of people just use, and there's lots of different, these polishes. Again, liquid polishes, like pretty much every car polish company's got different. There's Turtle Wax products, and there's Meguiar's, there's, what's the other one? A lot of people use Plastex. That's actually a Meguiar's product as well. And some of these work slightly differently. So I even have this. Other ways work better for me personally, and there's different ways to use this stuff. I think the Plastex is a little bit more like one of those progressive. It might be kind of progressive, where it starts out grittier and then kind of gets finer and finer as the particles break down. I think that might be how this works. So some of these work slightly differently like that, but I mean, for the most part, try something out. If it doesn't really work for you, try something else. That's the way that I do things. So anyway, let's see here. Let's see, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Drinking a bud, nice. Okay, so I think we're good. Let's get on this thing. Let's start turning this. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this thing looks. So one thing for anybody that wasn't like following along from the beginning. So I didn't make a long blank, like a Kitless size or whatever, bespoke blank. This is just made out of 2 blanks, and I decided to go with taking the section in the body out of 1 blank. So these two do, kind of, and I even set this up. I matched it up. At the beginning when I put this on, I was saying that we kind of lined up the grain or the pattern or whatever. So it's set up correctly. The cap is going to be totally different. It's not going to like match or anything. There's no way to match it. And like I was saying last time, that's kind of one of the dilemmas of these. You can order a 10-inch long blank, but at some point there's going to be a break. You have to decide, do I want the cap and the body to line up? If it was something that you needed to line up, do you want to do that with the cap and body, or do you want to do that with the body and the section? Because you can't get, if you line the body and the section up, the cap's going to be off when you put the cap on because it's covering the section. So you have to kind of think about which way do you want to do it. Typically, I'm going to line up the cap and the body because the way that I think about it, it's probably going to be capped sitting on a desk or somewhere. Like that's going to be like the most seen thing, and that's like kind of like the complete pen. If you take a picture of a pen, a lot of times it's going to have the cap and all that. So to me, those two seem to be a smarter way to line up. If you're going to line things up, match those two pieces up. Because the other thing is the section can sometimes be a lot skinnier than the body. And it may not even really be, it may not come through that you really lined it up in certain cases. But, a lot of times if you're just dealing with, like resin color swirl blanks, honestly, you could probably get away with not even worrying about it, and it's going to look fine. I don't think most people are even going to know that it didn't get lined up. And even if you do line it up, it may not be, like, oh yeah, that's lined up. So just kind of a couple things to think about. So what I'm going to do, For the cap, I only need 2.5 inches. I'm actually gonna mark this right now. But we got a lot of excess on this blank, so about 2.5 is where the length that I make my caps as of right now. So I'm just gonna kind of do that real quick, just so I know where it is. And I'm gonna put a little 60-degree cone in there with using my center drill, just so the 60-degree live center has good, like if you can put an angled, 60-degree whatever cone in the blank, your live center is going to mate up and hold a lot better. If you just jam this tip into the flat blank, it's going to constantly be like go deeper and deeper and kind of push the material aside. So if you can put that if you have enough blank left to put a cone in there, like a whatever you call this, if you got enough room where you're not like going to dig into the actual cap, the finished size, I would recommend doing this. And actually, I'm going to put a little bit bigger one because I got a lot of blank left here. So I'm going to go with the bigger size just so it's possibly even better. We'll start there. It's kind of the same idea as your taper. The Morse taper in your headstock or tailstock. The closer the two things fit, the better grip it's going to have. Let's say the better purchase. I don't know. Yeah, jeweler supply stores have lots of stuff too. They have sometimes they have like different products or brands or whatever. And if you can talk to one of like a jeweler or jeweler supply store person, they can probably even help you out and put together some pretty good kit of stuff. Again, it's not like it's going to be better necessarily than anything else. It just depends on what works best for you, maybe what you've got the most experience with. That's another thing. Some of these things may take a little while to kind of learn how to use. That's why I like Magic Juice. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You just apply it. There's it's not hard. It may not get every single scratch out, that's the only thing, but the thing about Magic Juice is it hides any leftover scratches, unless you're dealing with like a black blank or something like that. It does a really good job for pretty cheap, All right, so we got the dust collector going. So again, I'm going to be using like a standard cutter. It's not a negative rake. You can use negative rake. I find that this works a little better. It cuts a little bit better, and so I get a little less like chatter. One thing I want to do real quick, I got that line, but when I turn this round, that's going to go away. So I'm just going to put a little indentation there so I know. Get my tool rest a little bit further over. So I'm going to be going for 17 millimeters down here, and then I'm going to taper it down to 15 at the cap top. One thing I also want to mention, let's see here, so I was saying that I like to, take straight cuts, keep taking straight cuts and try and get everything nice and flat with the tool. That requires me to sit here and measure it like repeatedly, come back with the calipers over and over. And I can't remember who, somebody emailed me and suggested a couple tips. So I knew about these before personally. I just haven't really messed with it. So there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. One way, you can measure just using a wrench. You know, that's a pretty, so, you know, whatever size you wanted it to be. Let's say that I wanted to take this down to, you know, 17. You can get a 17 millimeter wrench, and then you can test it using that. But you can also, and I did do a little testing. I'm not going to do this on this one. I want to do testing on something that I don't care about, you know. But what you can do is actually sharpen the tool, and then come in here, and then cut it while you're measuring, almost like it's only going to cut to, you know, whatever size you wanted, 17 millimeters or whatever. So that's one thing you can do. I don't know if you can see that, but I did come in and kind of sharpen this up a little bit instead of it being, because it was pretty rounded. So that's something you can do. You can come in, and that makes things a little bit simpler. The only issue is I tried it on just a regular blank, and I would probably, if you're going for a final dimension of like 17 millimeters, I don't think I would pull a 17 millimeter wrench out. It's a pretty jacked up surface. So you're going to end up having to either sand or cut more off. So you'd probably want to step up and give yourself a little room, but that's a pretty simple way of doing it. You can get, you know, things going. My only issue is I just chucked up a full, you know, full blank in the jaws here, or in the collet chuck. And that worked fine. The only issue is, you know, there's not a lot of material left when you're doing these pens. That's why I don't want to test this on this one, because it can just shatter it. There's a lot of forces going on. And also, if you don't get this thing super sharp, that can, you know, you're kind of jamming a dull thing on there. It can kind of twist and move. So it could cause failures. You could get blanks that might blow up. So I'd have to do a little bit more testing. Now, another way that you can go is just pull out and that's to take it down, take whatever you're turning down to you know, like a cylinder down to a specific diameter. Another thing you can do is just pull out your you know, parting tool, and like take some cuts, maybe like an inch apart or something like that, and get those cuts down to 50, you know, whatever you're going for, 17 millimeters. That way you have some I don't know, like marks where, you know, okay, this indentation is 17, and then it's a little easier just to take off the material between those. So those are just kind of general. That's kind of general turning tips. Most of you probably know about those, but I just wanted to mention it. It's a good idea. For right now, I'm good with just taking a break, you know, and measuring with the calipers. It usually doesn't take that long. There's lots of different ways to kind of speed things up and make it work for you. Now the cap with a 14 millimeter thread on this, it really doesn't take long to get down to 17. I mean, the blank starts at like 19. I can't see. So we're at about 18.2 right now. Little ways to go, and I don't care if it doesn't have to be perfectly 17 millimeters, but somewhere in that vicinity, you know. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Novus has a good system, that's true. Yeah, the wrench technique, I like the wrench technique for wood. Again, wood has more tensile strength. It doesn't shatter on you. Whereas like plastics, they can kind of bend. And if they start to kind of bend while it's turning, that's when things shatter. So, you know, like I said, you just have to be a little bit careful. I'm not really willing to make a gamble. Oh shoot, I lost my mark. And some of these things, if you're really not in a hurry, like whatever, you know, which I'm really not in a hurry on this. $17.5 now. And I'm also going to check, so I want this to be fairly straight, a little higher. I'm going to try and get this thing a little bit see where we're at now. We should be getting pretty close. Yeah, 17.1. And then, like I said, I want to taper this down. I'm going to get this end. Should be pretty good. I think we should be around 17 at the end here. Let me get my light on. Okay, I actually went a little under, I think. It's okay though, 16.97. 17. Okay, so I got it pretty much straight. Now I'm gonna taper it probably, let's kind of taper it about from halfway point or so. So again, the way that I do that is I'll take a cut. Being a little aggressive there. See where we got to. It's looking good, so yeah. I don't really need to do a whole lot of extra to that. So I want to get my mark back again. Right there. Just gonna kind of smooth things out. Pretty good. Okay, looking good. So I'm going to start working on this end here. Going to open up a little room for me, and I like to give it a little bit of a angle. I'm not going to take it all the way down just yet. Just kind of want to get things started here. The detail tool is so fun to use. If you don't have one yet, highly recommend it. It's a great tool. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a kind of a sharp edge here, so I'm just going to kind of, well, I'm going to take this down just a little bit. Oh. There we go. And it's sanding time. So pretty simple. I mean, the cap is probably the fastest thing to make, you know, to turn actually. And I'm just going to start with wet sanding so we can turn the dust collector off, which is great. I've been really enjoying just going with the silicon carbide paper. It's been working quite good. I'm going to go get some gloves. That's the biggest problem with wet sanding is you get your hands all wet and not very fun. Oh yeah, that's a good point, Mark. The wrench is a little bit bigger, I guess, yeah. All right, let's got some gloves on. I just don't like getting my hands all wet. They tend to dry out really bad, especially in the winter. So this is just silicon carbide paper. I use Merca brand. It doesn't really matter which brand you use as long as it's a decent brand. I would highly recommend, do not go to Harbor Freight and get sandpaper. There is a difference between super cheap sandpaper and quality sandpaper. But once you get to like a Norton or, you know, whatever, 3M, Norton, Klingspor, Merca, I don't know, just a reputable brand, something that's not just, you know, whatever, generic. You'll be good at that point. But the problem is with the super cheap ones, they use the reason, like they're not, it's not like they figured out a really good process of making sandpaper and it's cheaper. They use cheaper paper, they use cheaper abrasives, they use like the particles. They use cheaper like glue to glue the particles, or, you know, like the whatever adhesives. So like everything's cheaper about it, and the problem is you may not, you know, you may buy 180 grit sandpaper, and if their quality control on the sizing of the particles isn't particularly good, you may end up having, you may have 150 grit sandpaper effectively, you know. So, and if the particles break off too fast, you're going to end up using more paper. They may not sand very well. So there's a lot of things going on with sandpapers. And it just doesn't pay to cheap out on that, you know, specific thing. Find another place to save money, but get a decent brand of sandpaper. Let's see. Mark's asked, what grits do I use? So I'm starting with 600. To be honest, it depends on how smooth is the surface of the blank. You know, off the tool. If you can get it super smooth, I mean, you may be able to start at 800 or 1000. You know, I know there's people that are like magicians with skew chisels. You know, you can get it pretty smooth off the tool. And really, I've I'm actually pretty proud of myself. With the carbide tools, I get the surface pretty good. There's not a bunch of like ridges and stuff. So if, you know, that's a place where you can practice. And actually, you know, we're just talking about saving money somewhere. If you can get better at the tool, then you don't have to buy or use as much sandpaper. You know, so there's an incentive to practice. You know, getting a nice smooth surface with the tool. That'll save you money in the long run, and time too. So I'm starting with 600, and so what I've been doing lately, and there's lots of different ways you could do this. Really, I do like the Zona paper. Once you start getting into like the kind of higher grits, it's a little bit more flexible than silicon carbide, but I don't exactly know for sure where to. The one thing is, I do really like the 600. I think 600 silicon carbide, it's a little stiffer. It's got more particles, like per, you know, square micron or whatever. It's got it's a densely packed piece of paper, so it's a pretty good one. And I find that 600 grit, I mean, really, I'm kind of getting better results with 600 grit silicon carbide than I did with 400 Abranet. And it's because there's more particles. Like, this stuff is actually more made for this type of sanding. Like wet, you know, obviously it's wet dry, wet sandpaper, but it's really more made for like plastics or finishes. You know, it's kind of, I think, I don't know this for sure, but it's heavily used in the automotive industry for doing body work, right? So it's good at sanding things like this. So I think that's a pretty good one to get everything, get your tool marks and all that kind of stuff. You know, granted, you don't have a bunch of ridges from tool marks, but 600 is good. Then you can kind of switch, but I don't exactly know what to use with the Zona, where to go next. So I've just been going 600, 800, 1000, then I just go buff. Just to take out trying to figure, like testing and messing around with the Zona. But I do like Zona because it's a little more flexible once you start getting up into the higher grits. I need to do a little bit more kind of experimenting to see where to switch over. But I think, you know, if you wanted to just pick up a pack of 600 grit silicon carbide, I don't think give it a shot. You know, like try it out, see what you think. Oh, whoops, I actually forgot. I like to do a little bit of lengthwise. I went back to 600 real quick. And I do think that that's important, to do a little bit of both direction sanding when you're dealing with plastics. It's a solid surface. So versus wood is missing a lot of surface. Like there's grain, right, which is a void. Plastic is solid surface. So, you know, the scratches kind of, what can end up happening is, you know, you're sanding, but your grit particles can kind of just get trapped in previous grit, you know, like abrasions. So this makes sure that you're kind of giving it a crosshatch sanding. You're getting the whole surface for sure. And I think it does help. So we're gonna go up to 800 now. Oh, that's way too fast. I don't know how that got changed. I'm sanding about 750 grit, or 750 RPM. Yeah, most expensive tool. I know, it really does make a difference. And you know, I don't want to say that, you know, if you're using Abranet and getting good results, there's nothing wrong with that. And I used it for years. And I use it for wood. I'm not using any other sandpaper. It really lasts a long time. It doesn't clog up. It's a great product. But ever since just kind of playing around, switching around, I was watching, you know, Chad doing his the Bespoke pen making series, and he's like, oh, I just pull out 600, and I was like, I'm gonna try that. You know, I was like, well, let's just see how that goes. And I've been pretty happy with it. It seems like it's faster and better. I'm getting, you know, at the end I don't have as many scratches in the end, because a lot of times if you're getting scratches after like the final polishing, it means that you didn't get the scratches out at a lower grit somewhere, you know. It's generally not going to be caused by your polishes. Unless you've got contaminated, you know, application pads or something like that. But I don't even think that, even if you're using paper towels, I don't think that you're going to see a ton of scratches in it. We've discussed that, you know, how abrasive is paper towel. I don't know. I don't really know that it may not get you like the ultimate shine, but I don't think you're going to see a bunch of scratches because you use paper towel to apply your stuff. Oops, I got to do I keep forgetting that. I want to do the lengthwise. And I'm not pressing hard. That's another thing that a lot of people do is they're like, ugh. They press really hard with their sandpaper like it's gonna sand better. Let the grit particles do the job, not your muscles. Just give it a medium light touch. All right, so 1000 grit, and then we'll move on, and we'll buff all of these guys. And like I said, Magic Juice works fine. It just depends on what. I'm just kind of playing around, experimenting with the buffing right now. I've been getting pretty good results. I usually do. Magic Juice works fine. One thing that I will say is you can get away with a little bit more, or let's say less work. It may not be as glossy, but on lighter colors or clear things, it's much easier to get the sanding done and not see scratches. There may still be some, but you probably aren't going to even notice them. When you're talking about darker colors, though, those scratches show up. I mean, every little imperfection, every little scratch is going to show up and be like front and center. So the darker the material is, the more work you're going to have to do to get it perfect. Black is the worst. Black resins, they can be quite a bear. You think you did a good enough job, and then it also depends on how high magnification you inspect it with. If the naked eye doesn't discern it, I don't know that there's really any reason to pull out, magnifiers and all that kind of stuff. Maybe depends on what, where's this thing going? Who's is there a customer? What do they expect? What do you expect of your own work? But you just need to watch out, because you can really get yourself kind of in a hole trying to chase perfection. And it's probably not worth it. If you can't see the scratches, then there's really no reason to fret over them. But like I said, it depends. It's up to you. Just don't go too crazy. It'll make you go insane. Okay, so now I'm gonna part this guy off. We'll get things rolling here. Let's see. Get the dust collector going. Speed it up a little bit more. Alright, so let me look at the bottom of this. Yeah, so we're going kind of a little bit more around. Sometimes I'll go for just kind of more of an angle. I'm kind of going for a little bit more of a round bump, and I think that's got a pretty good shape to it right there. So let's switch back to our sandpaper. Floor polish protective coating. Huh. Yeah, polishing black is not fun. All right, Michael, thanks for joining the fun. All right, so back to 6. I probably need to get a new piece of 600 here soon, but I think we're okay for. I think I can finish this guy up. And you could, you know, I could do all the shaping. I could get this thing down all the way and then polish. I just have this weird thing. I'd rather have the tailstock support while I'm sanding for some reason. I don't know. You really don't need to do that. You could just part it off and then do all your sanding at once. But at the same time, it really doesn't take that long to just get this end here, the top part, finished. That's probably good. Nice and smooth. I just kind of do a little bit of this kind of circular to give it that, rather than just going straight across, I just kind of do circles on the end here. Do a little 800. Okay. Lelia's here. What's up? Okay. And 1,000. And you could go higher if you really wanted. The reason I stop at 1,000 is I don't know for sure, and things change when you switch from, you know, different abrasives work slightly differently. Another issue is, you know, like I've tried to convert these. They give you micron levels. They tell you that they don't give you like a grit with the Zona. They give you micron levels, and I've tried to convert the Zona paper to a micron, or I mean the micron to like a grit equivalent. And I don't know. It's slightly different abrasives though, so I don't know if it's exactly going to be the same. But I did some research on the like buffing wheels on Rouges, and it appears that Tripoli buffing Rouge is somewhere in the 900 or so grit category. I don't know. It's a very different type of abrasive, so I don't know that it converts exactly. But I figure I go to 1,000, then I go to the Tripoli, and I've been getting, you know, the Tripoli gets 1,000 grit scratches out for sure. So you know, I don't know that you need to go a whole lot higher than 1,000 if you're going to buff. The Magic Juice. Did I do with this thing running? I don't even remember. Magic Juice, they kind of recommend that you go to 2,000 and then start using it. I think somewhere between 1,200 and 2,000 is probably fine. So again, it's kind of up to you. You got to just test things out, see what you need to do. You're probably going to get more consistent results if you go to like 1,500 or 2,000 before Magic Juice, right? But you could maybe skip a few of those grits and go to like, you know, maybe 1,200 or something like that, and then go to Magic Juice. It is possible, but you're probably going to have to work a little bit longer on that first grit of Magic Juice. if you do that. So it just, you know, you can alter these things, but there's gives and there's takes. Okay, so we got this thing done. Let's see how it looks. I'm trying to get my hands dry. Let me get that off a little bit. All right, so get the body piece. There we go, a little sneak peek here. Again, these are not, there's no way to line these up. And the other issue with, if you're using triple lead, threads, the other problem with lining up the cap, something to think about is if you're using triple lead, it's only going to line up on one lead, right? So but there's 3 different ways that it could work. So these are all things to think about when you're deciding, you know, oh, that lined up really nice. Look at that. That almost looks like it goes together. See what I mean? Like you could take 2 totally different blanks and you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty close. It looks like it's lined up kind of. This doesn't really match up with anything that's blue, but nobody's really going to care, I don't think. It's not that big of a deal. A little bit sticky at the end there, but I haven't washed this out, cleaned it, you know. Pretty cool. All right, so let's get these things buffed. What do you guys think? So has anybody gotten any good deals, Black Friday stuff? Turner's Warehouse has they got all kinds of good deals going on right now. I'm sure a lot of other people do too. I didn't actually snag any of their Black Friday stuff, but I did place an order with Turner's Warehouse yesterday. One thing that I bought, I think I mentioned it. I really like their Element series kits. I haven't used any yet, but I will be hopefully soon. But I realized I didn't have any of the cigar size. But these are cool because they're real copper and real brass, and you can patina it. You can create a patina on them. So it's pretty cool. Another thing that I thought that I grabbed, but I didn't, is they have aluminum and they also have stainless steel. And so I grabbed one of each of those in just like the single blank. They call it Twist. I forget what they call it. What is it? Twist series? It's like, like it looks similar to like a Sierra or Wall Street. Yeah, Element Twist. So I picked up a few different things. I've been buying. I always get a little overwhelmed when Black Friday comes around. I'm like, unless I know that I need something specific, it gets a little bit out of control. Constantly barraged by emails. Okay, so let's go over to the buffing machine. Let's see if this will just work right here. I think this might work. Maybe I'll come in like right there. Maybe. Might zoom out. Okay. And one thing to keep in mind, you do not want to be breathing the dust from this stuff. I might even argue it's possibly, I don't know if it's worse, but it's not good. It's not good stuff. This is an abrasive, It's 900 grit particles. You don't really want to be breathing the dust. So wear a mask. If you can get a dust collector or something like that to suck up the dust, that'll be even better. But I'm going to wear a mask and use my dust collector because you don't want to be breathing it. You're going to get abrasive junk in your lungs and it ain't coming out. So just be careful with these things, Let me get my mask on real quick here. Okay, turn the dust collector on. Camera's in my way. All right, so this is the first wheel. It's Tripoli Buffing Rouge. Now this might, I don't know that I recommend this. You got to be really careful. It can grab it, but I like to try and get the front very carefully though. Because if you go too far, it'll catch this thing and break it or throw it, you know, slam it down, and you're kind of screwed. So just very lightly try to get that front rim. And again, this is another reason why I like, you know, I maybe don't recommend turning with the mandrel like this, where you screw the threads into it, because it's, you know, very weak. It's not a lot of meat on that thread, and it's not holding much. So, you know, you may want to turn using the mandrel that screws in the middle. But for buffing, like, I don't want these threads anywhere near the buffing wheel, even sanding. So that's why I like having this other mandrel to protect those threads while I'm doing buffing or whatever. Sanding, buffing. And then I'm going to wipe it off. This rag is used for wiping off after the Tripoli. I'm not sure if it's a big deal or not, but I'm trying to get any residual Tripoli dust off of this thing before I go to the white diamond. And usually white diamond, you don't really need to like really load it up with a lot of rouge. Tripoli, I like to constantly add a little bit more. White diamond, usually you can kind of, you charge it and it kind of stays good for a few uses sometimes. And you might notice I'm doing it kind of two different ways. It's kind of the same idea as the sanding. And I like to end on the like vertical or lengthwise. All right, that ought to be good. I have a separate rag to wipe off after the white diamond. I don't know if, again, there's probably not a lot of residue left over, but why not, you know? All right, so we got the section done. Move on to the body. Now, someday I would kind of like to get a mandrel, you know, that I can screw the body threads into, or cap threads, you know, on the end of the body. However, I don't have that, so one thing you can do is put a little painter's tape over them, and that will help kind of keep them from getting you know, buff. Because the problem is, you can, if you hit these threads with the triple E, it'll flatten them, and it's going to kind of jack up your threads. So put a little painter's tape around there. Helps to get a long enough piece to go all the way around the threads. There's not a lot for this tape to like really grab onto, so it doesn't really want to stick too much. But yeah, that didn't work at all. I'm gonna go get, I have frog tape. That seems to work a little bit better. One thing I'm gonna do real quick is just wipe off those threads with some denatured alcohol. So bear with me while I get all this stuff here. Alright, so first off, a little denatured alcohol. Just gonna wipe off the threads. And then I pulled out, this is frog tape. It's a little stickier than that blue painter's tape. Alright, so now we got them covered. I feel a little bit better about that. Fire this back up. Now I've lost that handle though with the mandrel, you know. So just be aware of that, but I don't really have to worry so much about those threads. And you can keep the buffing wheel away from the threads, but what ends up happening is you may be putting the, you know, like not getting the wheel all the way to the edge then, and not actually buffing that last little 16th inch. We don't want that. Buffing gets a little fiddly when you're dealing with pens though, so just keep a good grip on it, otherwise it'll fling it. that sucks. I dropped it in the thing. I gotta go blow this off. Okay. Okay, I think that's good. Let me wipe it off. Move over to the white diamond wheel. Sorry guys, I can't see the chat. I'm gonna take a break after I get done with the body. See if there's any comments. But at least the camera's on. I can see that. The white diamond wheel is a little softer, so you can kind of get away with a little bit more without it grabbing stuff. This one's a little harder, so it can really grab stuff a lot easier. And then the string buff is even softer. That was the one that I showed you earlier. I mean, you can like jam stuff in that and it's not going to grab anything because it's so soft. You just have to be careful, take your time. Stay on the bottom quarter. It's the least grabby area. All right, I think that's good. I can inspect this later if I really want to. Let me take a break real quick, see if there's any comments that I need to address. Let's see here. Ah, David's here. How's it going? Yeah, it does kind of look like a hydro dip thing, huh? Your Turner's Warehouse order just arrived. That's cool, CJ. Love it. Oh, you had one fly on you? I've had a few, yeah. Did a weeping angel catch it? That's funny. Okay, so let me put this down and we'll finish the cap here. One other thing that you don't really want to do is get your mandrels of metal. You don't want to get them on your wheels. They'll turn them black. I don't know if that does anything, but personally I'd rather not have black wheels. So I don't recommend mixing, you know, if you're gonna you can do wood and plastic on these, but if you're doing metal, I would use a different buffing wheel. again, I do like to try and get the cap. This, I don't necessarily recommend trying this because it can really grab it and throw it if you're not careful. But I do want to get this thing as shiny as possible in all areas, you know. Alright, so we got the triple E done. I think I'm going to put this back on the mandrel to begin with here. I think we got it. I'm just going to wipe this off with that other rag. Let me give me 1 second. We'll get things kind of refigured out here. The cameras and everything. All right, so kind of get that thing like that. I'm going to turn the dust collector off now. Turn it around. So from here, again, I do different things depending. You guys have seen magic juice, so let me... What the heck is on me? Oh, hold on a sec. I got some, I don't know what on me. Where the heck did that come from? Oh. Okay. So you guys have seen magic juice, obviously. That's pretty simple. So let's put on the string buff that I was talking about. And I had to kind of piece all this stuff together. I bought the string buff, I believe, from, oh man, I might have bought it from Beal. I either bought it from Beal or I bought it from McMaster Carr. Actually, I think it might have been McMaster Carr. And then I also had to buy this mandrel thing. So, but I got it all set up. It's got a number 2 Morse taper. And then let's go with the 205. And again, I'm just doing kind of a quick final step here. A couple different ways you could do this. I mean, you could actually Another way that I've done things is I've actually put the mandrel in and then just grabbed the string buff, like put the 205 on the thing. So this was mounted on the lathe, and I've just taken the string buff to it. That's another different way. But in this case, I'm gonna shake this up a little bit. I'm gonna put a little bit on here, hopefully. Not too much. Okay. And this would work with, like I said, pretty much any plastic, the highest grit plastic polish. And then I just take it to the string buff a little bit faster. And it just kind of adds a little bit higher luster, you know? Just a little bit. A lot of times I'll do like half and half on these. Some chunks there. Just wiping the excess off there. Where's my mandrel? Put the mandrel back on so I can kind of hold it on two sides. But as you can see, this is a little bit cumbersome doing it this way. And I don't really know that there's significantly, if it's like any better than just going with like the number 5 and number 6 magic juice. Probably not, really, you know. So, but it is a way that you can do something, and I don't know if this is the greatest way to do it, but I do think that the string buff is a great, it's a good buffing wheel for a final polish. And you do want to match your wheel material with, you know, the level of polishing that you're doing, how high is the grit or whatever that you're applying to it. That might be a little too fast, now that I think about it. And my theory is, you know, I'm not applying this stuff to the buffing wheel directly. I'm applying it to the you know, pen. But it's picking some up, and so eventually this thing gets a little bit charged. But I don't really find that you really need to load it up with a bunch of polish, you know. And the hardest one is this little guy. Did I already do the little guy? Which ones have I done yet? Did I do all of them? I don't think I did the section yet. I don't know. Did I do the section yet? Ah, you added the 4th string buff. Nice. Yeah, it's a good wheel for like that final polish. And keep in mind, you know, the larger the diameter of the wheel, The faster it goes, and opposite, you know, the larger the diameter. If you got like an 8-inch wheel, you don't need to be going 2,000 RPMs. It's just not necessary. But you will want to be going a little bit faster if you got a 4-inch wheel, and you know, so on and so forth. Ooh, that's looking good. Okay, so did I do the cap? What have I not done yet? Yeah, I did all of them, I think. I did them all. Okay, we're good. I did them all. So let's see here. I think we're going to go over to the desk over there, and we'll assemble everything. I do now at this point. I would recommend doing running it through the sonic cleaner, but I want to put it together for you guys. Yeah, there's no. I'll do that after after this stream, you know. So let's see here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Take off that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So let's get everything assembled here. Need to go get a nib. That's pretty decent, guys. I don't know. What do you think about this thing? Feels pretty good in the hand. Let me go get a nib. What do I got here? Well, I got an extra fine on hand. It doesn't really matter which nib we put in here. We just want to look at it. I wish I had a silver. I don't have any silvers. Ooh. That's pretty good. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the shaping. I think that I did a pretty good job on that. Just minor, you know, like that. I'm finding that you just don't need to do a whole lot of shaping. Like it almost looks straight, but you know, we know that, you know, I was about 15 millimeter here, 13 down there, I think. I'm pretty sure that was my dimensions, but there's a little bit of a taper going on from about here down. And then same thing with the cap, you know, it's pretty much, we've kind of got it going straight, probably like, you know, flat, like it's just both these parts are flat, and then just a little bit of a taper, and it's almost not really noticeable. And you could do as much as you want, you know, with tapers and shaping and all that stuff, but at the same time, you really don't need to do a whole lot of shaping to get it to look pretty good. This area really kind of feels like it's, you know, it's lined up. Let's say. Let's see if we switch to a different track. That doesn't look bad. The only thing that's a little disappointing, we don't have this like light blue, or whatever color that was. What color was that? I think it's a light blue. Yeah, I guess so. There's no light blue to match up in the cap. That's the only thing that I would say is a little bit disappointing. But everything else looks great. I think that first, right there, that looks pretty good. Anyway, finished it all up. Let's see here. So let's see. Mark was asking what size the string buff. I think it's, I don't know. Bought it a long time ago. Let me just measure it real quick. Looks like it's a well, it's probably considered a 6 because it's really not. Like if I measure across the diameter, it's like 5.5. So I'm guessing it's probably like 6-inch string buff. Like I said, I think I got it. Beal was selling something that was a string buff, but I think I got it at McMaster Car. I'm just going to do a quick search. String buff. Yeah, buffing wheels for regular surfaces. They got 4, 6, and 8. And they're not cheap necessarily, but, you know, depends on what thickness. So mine's probably, I'm guessing I bought a 6-inch by 2-inch, maybe, not 1-inch. So I think I got the 6-inch by 2-inch. And like I said, it ain't cheap. It's like $62. But you can get the 4-inch by 1, and that's 22. 4-inch by 2 is 45. Then you just have to get that mandrel system. Let's see here. Doctor Who. That's good. I like Doctor Who. You got the Yovo. Oh, nice. You got the Yovo mandrel. Sweet. And element kits. Nice, yeah. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through and see here. Yeah, 6 by 2, I think. So pretty cool. Yeah. So, and then inside here, I didn't put the converter in either. And some people want me to, they're like, oh, you didn't even write with it. Well, I don't have a nib that I want to write with. Extra fine is not my thing. I've got a bold, but like I said, I need to run this through the sonic cleaner. So to set this up, all you do is you're just gonna push this thing in, and then your converter's ready to go, and then you would just ink it up in your inkwell, plug it in, and then it'd be ready to write. But like I said, I'm gonna run this through the sonic cleaner. I'm gonna go grab my sonic cleaner. I have like an industrial, like a big one. But I don't know. I mean, if you have one on hand, fine, but you don't need to spend the money on one of those big ones. And technically, it may be a little bit overkill for this stuff. I don't know that you really. I think the cheaper, smaller, more gentle ones that are made for like jewelry, I think are going to be a little bit better for these pens. And they're just like super convenient size. So here's mine. I got the Magnasonic. I'm going to go get a link for you guys. I definitely recommend picking one of these up if you're going to be doing these, because it really cleans the inside so well of all the parts. It just breaks up all the junk. Yeah, there it is. So I got it on Amazon. $33, 34. Pretty cheap little deal, and it works for a lot of things in the shop, but it really is the best way to clean out, get all the junk out of the insides. And so on the you got a little bucket here, which I should probably change the water, clean it out. There's some yuck in there. But you just drop all your parts in, and this thing has like I don't know, there's different cycles, like how long it runs. I just go for the longest, running thing. And when you pull everything out, it's dead clean. Make sure I don't have any junk in there. It's always good to kind of look in there. One time, there was a ton of stuff either in the cap or the body. I'm not sure. I mean, it was just nasty stuff coming out of there. So it's always good to kind of get any large debris junk out first. But like I said, I want to clean this thing out. The water's gross in there. There's a bunch of nastiness before I run it. I love the fruit snacks, yeah. So anyway, guys, I'm pretty excited about this thing. This turned out great. So great color choices or inspiration from Kid Cooper. Yeah, that thing looks pretty good. Might do a little bit of work. So before you start really messing around with these things, give it a full wash first with the Sonic cleaner. That'll just, like I said, there may be some little junk kind of trapped in the threads and stuff. But if your threads are a little bit tight for some reason, you can put a little bit of polish on the threads and just work it back and forth. And that will help kind of smooth everything out. It's really what it's doing is it's going to abrade both sets of threads in there. But it'll wear it down just a little tiny bit. And just make it smoother. So I might have to do that with the cap and body thread there, just to kind of, it's pretty good, but there's a little bit of stickiness, especially at the end, that I'd want to kind of just get rid of the stickiness. Anyway, so I think that's about it. So next week we're gonna be we're gonna probably make some Christmas themed pen blanks. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I had planned. Do I have it written down somewhere? Oh, I lost my mic came unclipped. Let's see. Let me go and look in my to-do list thing. What is happening here? Close the YouTube app. I just want to make sure if I can tell you what we're doing. I didn't write it down. I was thinking about doing some Christmas kind of color blanks, and I think I want to do dyes again, similar to this. I want to go for like the solid color dyes, and try that out. Maybe one of each or something like that. I don't know. We'll make some fun stuff next week. It should be pretty cool. So we'll be back into resin casting. But don't forget, guys, I'm doing all kinds of sales on my website. There's no codes needed or anything like that. You just go there, check out, and it'll apply all the discounts. Pen blanks are 15% off. Aluminum honeycomb is 15% off. The Starlight glitter and micro Starlight glitters, the individual things, they're 20% off. 3D print files are 25% off. Ebook is 50% off. I think that's it. I think that's all the things. And that's just going through Monday. I decided to just kind of make it easy. No codes, no messing around. Just head over there, shop, have fun, and save money. So that should be pretty cool. Super duper show. Thanks, man. Yeah, the polish that I use for that. Honestly, if it's really sticky, you might want to go. I got recommended from Jim Hines the Turtle Wax. Heavy duty rubbing compound. So if you got a lot of work, if they're like really like tight, you probably want to use something a little bit more aggressive. So, and you could probably go with, I don't know. I would imagine, this stuff's kind of gross. Excuse me. You could probably use the #1 magic juice. It's probably pretty similar to this. I would say that would be more of your like rubbing compound grit level. Is like maybe the #1. So there's lots of different things. If all you need is just a little bit of, you got a few sticky spots or it's a little bit sticky here and there. You might want to go with something a little bit on the upper end. You could use like the Novus. I forget if it's you have Novus on hand. There's 1 and 2, I think. How does that work? I always forget which one is I have some of that too. I can't get it out though. Novus. Okay, so or 3 is the heavy scratch remover. That would be like more of the rubbing compound, or the number 1, and then Novus number 2 is fine scratch. So obviously that's going to be a finer abrasive. So you can just kind of pick and choose. If you have just a little bit of an issue, go for maybe a higher, and you just rub it on there and just start turning it. Put a little bit of that compound on and just work the threads back and forth. I think with this, actually, the threads feel pretty good. I think what it is I didn't maybe... the one thing that on this pen, I just came in with a detail tool to give it a little bit of relief on the cap on the inside. And I probably needed to take a little bit more relief on this, is probably what's going on. So I'm not sure if that compound is really going to fix it, because it's really... the threads run really great at the beginning, and it just tightens up a little bit at the end there. That's the tough thing about just using the detail tool on the inside of the cap. It's hard to be like, oh, that's enough. I would rather just have a tool, like a bit that comes in and takes, like the right, that you could line up and do it exactly the same every time. That's something that I do kind of want to work on. There's different things. I could probably just make some sort of a cutter that goes in a drill. You could use, like, if you had the right size drill bit, how like a normal twist bit has kind of an angle. I don't know if that probably wouldn't be, probably not right, but you could probably figure something out where you could put the exact angle and exactly how far it needs to go into the cap. The thing is, it's such a small amount that it's going to take a little bit of messing around to get like the perfect tool where you just pop it in there and go, But you could get that kind of repeatability, I think, really easy. It's not a big deal if you just do it by hand, though, honestly. It may be a little tight at the end, that's it. So, oh yeah, running these blanks. So the blanks turned out, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I think I will. So let's see here. Yeah, this week was just kind of crazy. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'll probably get the listing and everything ready. These, I don't know, we'll have to see if these are popular. I'm going to maybe make one batch. Well, I have a few on hand. I don't have the listing up yet, but I've got 5. I've got 5 on hand. So I would probably recommend, if you're interested in one of these things, I would probably go to my website and sign up for the email newsletter, because I'll probably mention it once I get the listing. I totally forgot to put the listing on my website, but that email will go out on Wednesday, and so these will be available. I'm gonna do it where we'll do it for like a week, and I'll make more. I'm not gonna make it limited to what I have on hand, but I do have 5 right now, and so I'm probably not gonna. We'll have to see how popular they are. Probably won't make another batch until Wednesday when the listing goes up. So just keep your eyes peeled. So between like Wednesday and then the next Wednesday, so for a week, I'll have those things where it's like I don't know, I call it like a pre-sale sort of kind of thing, where sales will be open and I'll take orders and make blanks for that week, and then at the end we'll shut it down, and so it'll be a limited run. But yeah, if you want to grab some of these, pretty good blanks. I'm really happy with the, there's really not much color bleed. There's a few areas where there's a little bit of color bleed, kinda, but nothing that that would cause me any concern. If you really look at it, there's like a couple areas right in the middle here. There's where things look like they kind of bled a little bit, but pretty good color separation throughout the majority of these. So I'm not really that worried about, doing that on the next batch. It should turn out pretty good. Oh, sweet. Thanks for joining the fun, Kev. I appreciate it. 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. That's funny. Yeah, it's 2:00 p.m. on Saturday right now. So cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining the fun. I'm always here to help. Yeah, I know. I totally forgot about that. I probably should have just set it up like the first week and said, well, if you want any, but I'm always worried because I want to see the results. And if they're like terrible, I don't want to have people ordering blanks, if there's like a problem. So these will be ready. Like I said, we'll do the sale next week. I'm not sure if because it was disjointed. I don't know if it'll cause problems or whatever, but we'll let you guys get some blanks if you want some. So Clyde's here. What's up, man? We're just finishing up. So I'm going to put it on the overhead for anybody that just joined the fun. Zoom out a little bit. We got it all finished up. I don't think the nib's in it right now, but looking pretty good, I think. Pretty fun colors. And so let's, I'm going to put up that picture. Let's see. Yeah, so there's the photo. Oops. I guess we'll do it like this. I mean, it's pretty good, pretty close. There's maybe a little bit more orange in that fish, I guess, than we got in the blank. But I think it's a pretty decent representation of the fish. Not too bad. So, all right, guys, I'm going to close it all down. So again, these blanks will be ready on Wednesday. Make sure to sign up for the email newsletter because it'll start then. It doesn't matter. I'll mention it on next week's stream too. And the sales or whatever, the ordering will still be going until like the following Wednesday. But if you want like, first dibs or whatever, and the early people, the first 5 orders or the first 5 blanks are from the same batch. Just if you want that kind of, if you want to make sure that it's exactly the same as the first one, those will be ready, like I said, next week. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about this one. So again, thanks to Kid Cooper for a great idea. Thank you to everybody who joined the fun. Again, thank you to everybody that super chatted last week with the knee injury thing. And knee's doing better. Like I said at the beginning, it's gonna every day. It's kind of I've gotten like more mobility. It still doesn't really want to bend, down. But I mean, there is no way I could have done this the first day. And I'm trying to do a little bit of, like mini squats and just kind of get things going. But my MRI is on the 5th of December, so we'll have to see I don't know what I actually did to it. It'll be interesting. So hopefully no surgery. Hopefully I can just kind of, do like physical therapy and kind of, work on things again and get it back to some sort of shape, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my snowboarding season isn't completely ruined this year. But anyway, like I said, doing better every day. So I appreciate you guys' concern, asking about it and all that stuff. And again, thank you for the super chats. I think there was 2 of them last week. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Make sure, like I said, head over to my website if you want to get some stuff on sale, blanks and all that stuff. Anything else? Make sure to check out Turner's Warehouse. They got all kinds of good stuff. I keep watching their stuff. Make sure to follow them on Instagram if you're not already. They post lots of stuff. So they've been having all kinds of, I think they have different sales and different categories and stuff every day. But lots of good sales over at Turner's Warehouse. And I think that is about it. Let's see. Is there anything else that I missed? Oh yeah, Mark, thank you. Yeah, hopefully. Today we were supposed to do second Thanksgiving with her family, and she's just not, I don't know what she's got, but it's not good. So hopefully I don't catch that too. Last year we had COVID for Thanksgiving. I don't know what's going on this year, so whatever. Yeah, knee injuries are definitely not fun. I've been pretty careful with everything. Luckily it just, after a while, it doesn't like me too much, so then it's time to get off it and ice it. But it'll be back. I think I'll be back to normal soon, hopefully. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of the weekend. Like I said, get some good deals, and just, hopefully relax, chill, hang with some family and friends, maybe have some leftovers from that yummy dinner. And I'll see you guys on next week's live stream. We'll do a little bit of Christmas themed pen blanks. I think it should be fun. Again, with dyes, like the similar types of opaque dyes. It should be pretty cool. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining the fun, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.